I'm back! Hello guys, and welcome back to my Doctor Who reviews. Yes, I decided to continue my Doctor Who reviews after a very long break. I'm sure a lot of you were a bit worried that I wasn't going to finish my Doctor Who reviews, and of course I am. I'm going to carry on. But, back, I think it was about last year, sometime, I was going through a lot. I was busy. I was studying at college, and I was in a show, and I had a lot of things going on, and a few unfortunate, feuds in a friendship group, which was slightly annoying and slightly regretful as well, and partly on my fault as well. So that was all going on. So I had to take a break from doing these reviews. And I lost the enthusiasm, also because of the news regarding the new series and the controversial casting of Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor. I've already given my opinions on that in a separate video. Just please don't think of me as a sexist. I'm not sexist at all. I just, watch the video. So, I am back, resuming the William Hartnell reviews with the second story of the second season of his Doctor. And today we're going to be looking at the Dalek Invasion of Earth, which is 6 parts. So yeah, it's a big story. And the second ever Dalek story to be aired from the show. Obviously the first one was just called The Daleks, and that was the second ever story. So yeah. That's interesting. So, right, let's get to it. So, the basic synopsis of this story is that the TARDIS returns to London. However, it's in the 22nd century. Bodies are in the river, and it's quiet around. London has become kind of a post-apocalyptic manifesto, and the Daleks have invaded and conquered London. They want to conquer the world by going through the sewers and then into the mines and kind of drilling into the core of the earth and removing it. So that's pretty much what's going on. Meanwhile, the Doctor and his companions, they get separated, and there's a few things going on. Ian's on his own for a bit. Barbara gets caught up with a woman called Jenny. The Doctor's kind of drugged by the Daleks. Susan falls in love in this one. She has a love interest known as David. So there's all that, and the Daleks are slaughtering and killing a lot. And there's a group of survivors who are also there as well, and they're trying to keep things rolling. And they come across the 4 main characters. So that's pretty much a very vague, brief description of the story. If you want the full details, just look it up or watch the story itself. So, the Dalek Invasion of Earth. Now, I know a couple of my subscribers are awaiting my review of this, and, drum roll. I fucking loved it! I know you, Jack McCulloch, you are cheering right now. I loved this story. It was the first time I've ever seen it, and it's great. It's absolutely brilliant. This is one of the best, probably one of the best, if not the best, of the classic series that I've seen thus far. It is so good, and I've got to give a huge round of applause to the BBC here. Fantastic job with this story. This story is epic, and I really like it. It's a very interesting story. It's actually the first time I've noticed. I mean, in this series, the scope is bigger and the budget is bigger. There's a lot of location-based things. London is in this story, so there's a nice British feeling about it. But it's actually quite it's a very intense one. It's quite serious. I mean, there's not as much comedy in this one, but I don't mind that. I think that works in its favour. It's quite serious. It's quite dramatic, and it works because of that. It's like a post-apocalyptic thriller. Why can't I talk? A post-apocalyptic thriller. And the Daleks are more menacing than ever. I think they look great, and the voice still sounds pretty intimidating. And there's really quite some tense moments, like when they kill people. I mean, there's a lot more deaths in this one than there were in the first story, the Daleks. And when they tried to drug the Doctor, that was quite an intense scene. There's a lot that happens in this story, and it's 6 parts, and it flew by. It flew by. I mean, I've never seen a Doctor Who story paced so well. It is the best paced of the stories that I've seen so far. It is really good. And I watched all 6 parts with complete ease. I didn't get bored at all. Not once. It's just the right length. And, you know, another thing to mention, really, is just how, like I said, the scale of it is epic. And it's actually even quite emotional in the ending, which I will get to a little bit later. I think the Daleks are incredible in this story, and this is a great story for them. This is a great story for them, because we see them already. They've already invaded Earth. You know, this is the future, and this is really interesting how we've seen the Earth go to complete shit after what the Daleks have done. I like the first part of the story. It's actually surprisingly very intense, like when the Doctor and Ian are looking around London to see what's happened, and then the very end is the Dalek, you know, rising from the river. You know, that's a very impressive image to be left on. There's so many. I mean, the cliffhangers are all great. You know, I can't remember some of them. I know there was one. I think the end of part 3 or 4 was a bomb. There was the end of. I think the end of part 5 was Ian getting stuck in the machine. So there's so much tension here, and I really like the characters in this one. The Doctor is good. William Hartnell does another good job here. I like him very much. He's very good. Ian Chesterton is good. William Russell. He does feel quite sidelined in this story. Not in the sense that he doesn't get enough to do, but just in the sense that he's kind of off on his own, doing his own thing for the majority of the story. He's with the Doctor at first, and then they get separated, and then he's kind of on his own. He gets stuck with, I can't remember the names of these guys, but one of the 2 brothers, and his brother, the guy's brother turns out to be one of the Daleks' robots, as they call it. So that was really quite dramatic. It's very dramatic, this story. It's very intense. And Barbara as well. Barbara's brilliant. She's become so brave. I mean, you watch her in the first few stories, compare her to now, she's much braver, and she completely stands up to the Daleks, and she tells them, you know, in the scene when she says, you know, when she explains about the revolt that's going to happen, and then, you know, Jenny kind of is inspired by that. I mean, the character of Jenny is someone who's, I kind of see Jenny as somebody who's a bit like Barbara in the first season. She's quite scared. She doesn't really know what's going on. She's just, you know, she's just kind of fearful all the time. And, you know, I think Jenny, by the end of the story, really really develops a lot of courage through Barbara and what Barbara's example, which is great. This is a very important story for Susan, because it's her last story, which is very sad, but I think she goes out on a complete high note. I mean, Susan in the past has sometimes been very much, you know, shouty, crying like, oh, like, not in a bad way, not like Willie Scott from Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, God no, but she's definitely, like Barbara, had to develop a lot of courage over her story. So I think her character's arc has come full circle, and now she finally, it's lovely that she's almost grown up, really. she was a little girl in the beginning, and now she's a young woman, and I think that's very beautiful. And the ending of this story is beautiful. When William Hartnell gives his speech, he says, all this time we've been traveling, I've taken care of you, but you've taken care of me just as well. One day I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. So he lets her go, and he knows that she has to make a choice between her grandfather or the man she loves, who is David, who's he's a good character. And their romance is very sweet. It's not the forefront of the story, but it's in there. You see that they really do love each other, and she's fallen for him by the end. And I thought I was very moved by the ending, and I thought her performance was fantastic at the end when David says to her, he knew that you wanted to stay. He knew, and he holds his hand out to her, and then she takes it and then walks away with him. So she's finally with the man she loves, and she's let go of her grandfather, and he's let go of her. They've moved on, and she's grown up, and I thought that was beautiful, very beautifully done. The climax of the story is also very entertaining when the Doctor and Barbara get get the people and the robots to basically attack the Daleks and wreck the shit up. And then they have to escape the explosion which is happening to them. So yeah, that's very entertaining. This story is great because it never loses its momentum. You really feel there's a sense of stakes. Each part, the stakes get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it all culminates in that massive finale, and then the emotional send-off to Susan, which I think is lovely. I honestly think it's amazing. It really is amazing. If I had to point out any criticisms, my one tiny little nitpick, the side characters. Some of them are okay. Like David, obviously. What's the other guy's name? Dalton or Dalton? I don't know how you say his name. The guy in the wheelchair. He was a cool character, and his invention of the smoke bombs that was quite cool. And when his death was very sad. There's a lot of death in this story. And obviously Jenny was cool. But there's a few others who are just there, so there are a couple, maybe a few too many characters. You only really needed David, Jenny, and Dalton. The other ones are just people in the survivors group. There are a couple, like there's the brother and then his brother. There's the guy and then his brother, and they both die. I kind of found it hard to keep up with all the characters, but that is just a nitpick, because this story is absolutely outstanding. It is superbly directed. Terry Nation has written an excellent script. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's emotionally engaging. It's the end of an era. It's the end of Susan. And it's another great story from the Daleks. And I actually think it moves a little bit quicker than the Daleks, and it's happening. I think this story is actually better than the first Dalek story, which is just called The Daleks. I thought it was just more engaging. It was more tense. It was on a bigger budget. There was a more confident approach to this one than the first one, which is why I really like it. And I would definitely watch it again. It's fantastic, and I think it's one of Hartnell's best stories. Definitely, it's not the most comedic story, but that's fine because it wasn't trying to be. It doesn't need to be that. You could have a laugh in the sense of there's the shot with the UFO, and there's like a model truck that blows up as well, which is very dated. So you can kind of laugh at that, but it is meant to be taken seriously. But overall, and also the production design is fantastic. I was totally, livid. I was in there. I believe that it was London in the 60s. Even though it is dated, and you can kind of tell that it's a set. All the sets were amazing. Really, really, really good. So yeah, I really, really like this story, and I'm gonna rate the Dalek Invasion of Earth, a 10 out of 10. Despite my little niggles with it, I still think it is a brilliant story. It is one of the best stories that I've seen so far. So excellent job there, guys. Excellent job. Right, so that's pretty much it for my review of the Dalek Invasion of Earth. Sorry for the major delay. Stay tuned for my next Doctor Who review, which will be The Rescue. So, one final note to say, Carole Ann Ford, thank you very much for your performance as Susan. You will be greatly missed. I've enjoyed seeing all of your stories up to this point. Your journey as a character is fully complete. And I'm looking forward to the next companion, because I hear that the next story introduces the next companion, so that should be interesting. So, until then, thank you guys all for watching, and as always, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. See ya.